So here to discuss the surprise transition of leadership at Starbucks is Jack Moore, Chief Investment Strategist at TheStreet.com and Research Director of Jim Cramer's Charitable Trust Portfolio. Thanks so much for joining us, Jack. I mean, look, nobody thought that he would be around forever, right? And he's done this once before, stepped down as CEO. Shares pulled back still nonetheless. So is this a buying opportunity to get into Starbucks at this point?
It definitely was a buying opportunity when it was down 12% immediately after, but that's hindsight. I think that, this is an end of an era. I mean, this is a retail titan. This is the most important person, I think, in probably retail history, and he of course is still going to be part of the company. He's going to be focusing his efforts, but this is a change, and I think that Kevin Johnson has. We know a little bit about him, but we don't know a lot. And I think that it's going to be very difficult for investors to stomach the fact that there's a new CEO and to replace. I mean, you can't replace Howard, but to rise to the position, where Kevin really has to take a voice, leading role, and really grow into it is critical.
Jack, as you said, it was down 12% initially. We've recovered from that initial shock move, down about 3% in the pre-market at the moment. Is one of the fears out there with this still 3% decline that Mr. Schultz is deciding to step down because he feels he's kind of taken the company as far as he can go and that there's not really much else easy growth to find?
Well, that's actually a great point, because I think I was on CNBC, reacting to the last earnings. It was the fourth consecutive miss, and I think that, look, it's very difficult to innovate in retail, and I mean, Howard Schultz has managed, his company has managed to defy innovation and defy the lack of innovation in retail, to take a premium food, coffee, and commercialize it to 75 countries, 25,000 locations, and but they actually had a decline in traffic year over year in the U.S. and actually globally this past quarter. So I think hitting the numbers is going to be extremely difficult. It's going to take another channel of innovation. I think that Kevin Johnson, what he provides is a more, more focused, narrowed view of essentially building out their IT infrastructure, their mobile order and pay, and driving that home, because that's the near to medium term opportunity. But absent that, it is I don't want to say mature, but it's relatively mature.
Relatively mature, Jack. You said the fact that it's down 3% is still not a buying opportunity, yet you hold the stock. So just sum that up for us. Why are you a holder but not a buyer?
Well, I mean, I think you have to give the guy a chance, and I mean, you have to listen. I mean, no one fully understands. Like, think about when Tim Cook stepped into the CEO position, in the shadows of Steve Jobs. I think that Kevin Johnson, if he can execute, if he can really, the issue is throughput. Price is not a problem. So if he can find to really innovate on the technology side, I think it's worth owning it. You got to give him a chance. It's going to take a few quarters to really understand what his vision is, where he adds value, and we certainly are holding it here. And so I think it's not necessarily a great buying opportunity, but if you own shares, I would not sell them.
Jack, thanks very much for joining us. Jack Moore of TheStreet.com. And as we already said, do not miss Howard Schultz and Kevin Johnson on Squawk Box today in a first on CNBC interview. That's at 7:30 a.m. Eastern Time. And then, of course, reaction through the day, including Jim at 9 a.m. In terms of whether that stock should still be a buy or not.